Welcome to Audiobook da Morgan. Today's reading is Utz, chapter 33. But before we start, please subscribe on my channel and press the button to activate notifications.
Chapter 33. The room was almost in darkness. It was a warm night, and a soft breeze ruffled the net curtains. On the carpet, the animals from the Japanese palace shimmered like lumps of phosphorescence. "Marta," he called, "a light, please." The maid came in with a Meissen candlestick and set it carefully in the centre of the table. She put a match to the candle. Innumerable points of flame were reflected in the walls. Utz changed the record on the gramophone to the recitative of Zerbinetta and Harlequin from Strauss's Adain auf Narcisse. I have said that Utz's face was waxy in texture, but now in the candlelight its texture seems like melted wax. I looked at the ageless complexion of the Dresden ladies. Things, I reflected, are tougher than people. Things are the changeless mirror in which we watch ourselves disintegrate. Nothing is more aging than the collection of works of art. One by one, he lifted the characters of the Commedia from the shelves and placed them in the pool of light where they appeared to skate over the glass of the table, pivoting on their bases of gilded foam, as if they would forever go on laughing, whirling, improvising. Scaramouche would strum on his guitar. Brigelli would liberate people's purses. The captain would swagger childlessly like all army officers. The doctor would kill his patient in order to rid him of his disease. The coils of spaghetti would be eternally poised above Pulcinelli's nostrils. Pantaloon would gloat over his money bags. The innamorata, like all transvestites everywhere, would be mobbed on his way to the theatre. Columbine would be endlessly in love with Harlequin, absolutely mad to trust him. And Harlequin, the arch improviser, the zany trickster, master of the voce fasci, would forever strut in his variegated plumage, grin through his orange mask, tiptoe into bedrooms, sell nappies for the children of the Grand Eunuch, dance in the teeth of catastrophe, Mr. Chameleon himself. And I realised, as Utz pivoted the figure in the candlelight, that I had misjudged him, that he too was dancing, that for him this world of little figures was the real world, and that compared to them the Gestapo, the secret police and other hooligans were creatures of tinsel, and the events of this sombre century, the bombardments, blitzkriegs, putschs, purges, were, so far as he was concerned, so many noises off. And now, he said, we shall go for a walk. End of chapter 33. Impaled it, held it in the air, and addressed me pedantically. Each time I see a piece of pork on my fork, I must remind myself that pork and porcelain are the same word. Really? I said. How's that? Really? You don't know it? Really not. So I will explain. He reached for some of the shelves and handed me a small white cowrie shell, an ordinary specimen of Grippian moneta. Did its shape, by any chance, remind me of a pig? Why not? Good, he said. We agree on that one also. Cowries, he went on, were used as currency in Africa and Asia, where they were traded for ivory, gold, slaves, or other marketable commodities. Marco Polo called them porcelain shells, porcella, in Italian was the word for little sow. He let out a perfect hiccup, probably caused by the sauerkraut. "I apologise," he said. "Don't mention it." He then produced, as if from nowhere, a bottle of translucent white porcelain which dated from the epoch of Kubla Khan. He had bought it in Paris before the war. Wouldn't I agree that its glaze resembled that of a cowrie? I would. Thank you. His next exhibit was the photo of an almost identical bottle in the treasury of St. Mark's, an object which was said to have arrived in Venice in the bags of Marco Polo himself. So now you understand about pork and porcelain. I think so, I said. Chinese porcelain, he continued, was one of those legendary substances, like unicorn horn or alchemical gold, from which men hoped to drink the fountain of youth. A porcelain cup was said to crack or discolour if poison were poured into it. Marta cleared the table, served coffee, and opened a box of Carlsbad plums. Utz hiccuped again and bombarded me with a flood of questions. Had I been to China? Had I read the letters of Father Matthew Hitchell or Father Dzianjowski's description of porcelain manufacture? How serious really was my understanding of Chinese porcelain? Under the Sung, the Ming, the Qing. From the 17th century, he said, the emperors of China had made a colossal impact on the European imagination. They were thought to be very wise and to live to a very great age, dispensing arbitrarily impartial justice according to laws derived from earth and heaven. They drank from porcelain. They built pagodas of porcelain. The smooth and lustrous surface of porcelain corresponded to the smooth, unwrinkled surface of themselves. Porcelain was their material, as gold was the material of the Royal Soleil. And even today, Utz added flippantly, our Soviet friends are never too poor to pay for gilding. Then would you say, I interrupted, that your Augustus's porcelain mania was conditioned by legends of the Yellow Emperor? Say it? Of course I would say it. And not only kings love porcelain, philosophers also. Leibniz was crazy for porcelain. Leibniz, who had believed this world was the best of all possible worlds, believed that porcelain was its best material. The maid stood motionless in the hallway, fixing her employer with a hostile stare, as if requiring him to end the interview. He took no notice. Now, will you look, please, at these two little persons? These were a pair of identical statuettes of Augustus the Strong, wreathed as a Roman emperor and standing like Tweedledum and Tweedledee amid the Dresden ladies. They were not modelled with much sophistication, yet had the concentrated energy of an African fetish. One was made of red Botticher ware, the so-called Jasper porcelain. The other was white. Tell me, said Utz, what do you know about Botticher? Not much, I replied. He began as an alchemist and then invented porcelain. He may have invented porcelain, but even that is not for sure. I reached for my notebook. He reeled off a synopsis of Botticher's career. That's the end.